Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monthrothacube. With me today, I've got co-host
Tony Stevenson
and our awesome guest.
Hi, I'm Lucy Cohen.
Fantastic. Lucy, I'm going to do the thing that I always forget to do, right? I'm going to ask you who you are and what you do, because I talk to you occasionally, and I know what you do, but there are people who aren't in our space who might not know who you are. So, Lucy, who are you? What do you do?
Excellent question. Who knows? I'm Lucy Cohen. I'm one of the co-founders of and CEO of Mazuma. We are the largest female-founded accounting firm in UK history, which sounds great, but is a depressingly low bar. So doing some work to try and fix that. And we use a combination of people and proprietary technology. We serve exclusively the micro business market, so really, really small businesses.
Oh, okay. I've got two questions straight off the bat from that one.
You go, mate.
Go.
How is a micro business defined? And you mentioned the word proprietary and software.
Yes.
So two big
That was my question, yeah.
Oh, I know, right? Because proprietary is a big word in the software world.
So we've built our own technology. So we're not using a tech stack of different things like receipt capture tools and GLs or AML. We've built the whole lot through as one workflow. And partly because of the client base we work in. So with a micro business, they are what I would affectionately call slightly scruffy, in that they really don't care what software their accountants use, because they are probably not going to engage with it at all in any way, shape or form. They will still throw a shoebox of receipts at you once a year. That's our market. And our offering specifically addresses them. They have under 10 staff. They typically turn over less than £200,000. And I think we did some stats, something like only 70% of our client base is 70% of our client base is below the VAT threshold. So we're dealing in the real kind of micro business space here, which are historically really hard to get right because they're fine margins. It's a price sensitive market. It's not somewhere where it's easy to sell value. So you sell your value through kind of low touch point, no news is good news, we've got it handled kind of stuff, hard to make a margin on. So it's kind of that, for us, it's that manufacturing business model in a professional services business, which is what we've always done for like nearly 19 years now. It's 19 years next month.
My dad would be your ideal client. He's been semi-retired for the last 20 years. He's a contractor. He doesn't care about the software. He just wants someone to sort out his tax for him. Like, it's perfect.
That's it. Just want it gone. Just not interested. Want it gone. Yeah. Not a growth business. Nope. I'm only self-employed by the nature of the fact of the trade I'm in. Just don't let me pay too much tax, and please don't let HMRC come knocking. That's it. That's what we do.
I'm going to send him your way. I'm not going to lie.
Amazing. I will tap you up for a referral gift voucher, Del.
There you go. I think like proprietary is definitely a word that people chuck around quite a lot that probably most people don't know what it means. You know, like is that fair? Right? Yeah.
I don't know how many times I hear the word proprietary a day. I'm not sure I can comment on that.
Yeah. You started with the purple envelope, is that right?
Yeah.
What does the purple envelope mean to you? Do you have one framed on your office somewhere? Is that?
I do. I don't, and I should really, shouldn't I? I should have a little purple envelope. So we started off with, and so I often get asked, like, why do you pick the color purple? Honestly, it's because it was the cheapest envelopes I could buy in Staples because we had no money. So that's
I love it when there's a reason like that behind it.
Like fancy branding house. I wanted something that stood out from the rest of the post so that people knew what it was, and I wanted something that was cheap. That was it. So that's what they provided. The green ones were too expensive, like they were fancier and too expensive. So so the purple envelope speaks to that market we work in, which is replacing the shoebox once a year with 12 envelopes a year. Shove everything in the purple envelope, post it to us. We will do everything else from data entry all the way through to reconciliations, bookkeeping, tax, etc., etc. We still use that language when we talk about what we do, because we've gone from, and I think about 10% of our client base still physically use a purple envelope. They still post us information in a free post purple envelope every month to us. But we now have an online envelope. So we're still just put it in the envelope and we'll do everything else. And that's the message. Just stick it in the envelope. Oh, I've got this letter, stick it in the envelope. I've got a receipt for, stick it in the envelope. It's just our way of interacting with our clients. If they've got something for us, into the envelope it goes.
I can just imagine you having this conversation internally with your team saying, like, we're moving away from the envelope, and then going, no, and you're like, oh, okay, we won't do that. We'll stick with the envelope. We'll just make it a digital envelope. And they're like, right, okay, we can get on board with that.
But we also kept the envelope because that's the way that our market behaves. Like that's, if we said to them, oh, by the way, we're going to need you to start allocating stuff into a piece of software, they'd all just freak out. Like that's not our market. So it's a really easy messaging system for us to just go, stick it in the envelope. Oh, do you remember that shoebox you used to have? Yeah, it's a bit like that, isn't it? Just stick it in there, but it's online. No biggie. If you can take a photo on your phone of your grandkids, you can stick it in the envelope. Not a big deal. And that's how we talk about it.
I had a conversation with a lady at a HMRC event a couple of weeks ago on the roadshow, and she was terrified about MTD because she was, in her mind, going to have to learn 20 bits of software because her 200 clients were going to come to her and say, this is a piece of software I'm going to use.
Yeah.
Does not sound like that is your experience. So if that lady is watching, then you can hear it from Lucy rather than from me telling you that wasn't necessary.
No, absolutely not. Not at all. Not at all. And again, if you run your own business, the whole point of it is you set the roadmap, you set what you do. If you only want to work with one piece of software, then you go after people who use that piece of software, you get people to swap. You don't have to. The whole point of running your own business is, for the most part, you're supposed to set the pace and set what you do. It's not about other people dictating how you work.
Everything you said just made me super duper happy because that's what I kind of preach all the time. And I hear people talking about it in the accounting and bookkeeping space. Which software should I use? The one you want. If you call a plumber to your house and this plumber pulls out a certain screwdriver or spanner to do that job, you wouldn't question. They just do it. So yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
So I need to give a shout out to reoccurring guests and viewers, by the way. So Kirsty St. John saying hello. Thank you, Kirsty. You're awesome. Sam Green, awesome. A long-time viewer, Marcus Batson. He's from old school, Marcus Batson. And also Steve Hallowell. Hey, Steve. Thanks for joining, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Please ask Lucy questions. She's really, really smart and really good at business. Like, you should ask her questions.
And I'll basically answer anything, so.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Lucy, Popeye,
like,
SpongeBob.
You've started.
No, we're doing it. Popeye, SpongeBob, Bugs Bunny, Shag, Marry, Kill.
Oh my God! Right.
There was a slightly softer version of this, which was Kiss. Marry.
Yeah, no, but Lucy said she can handle the. She said she can handle the questions.
Shag, Marry, Kill. All right, so I'm going to have to marry Popeye because he's strong, useful in it. I'm also a strong person, so just very handy. I think it also comes with a good community of people. I think so. That's probably quite a nice place to have a marriage in.
And
so that's nice. Yeah. Bugs Bunny's gonna have to get killed because I always found Bugs Bunny wildly irritating. Stupid carrot, stupid noise, gone. Which leaves SpongeBob for the coital
fun
stuff.
Times.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for the answers. Very
You're
swift,
welcome.
very decisive. I appreciate the thought that went into it.
I genuinely thought about it as well. I actually thought about it.
See, I bet you didn't get any of those kind of questions with the ITV or BBC. None of that, right?
BBC or Sky did not ask me Shag, Marry, Kill.
All right, let's ask you a serious question because obviously this is a LinkedIn live stream. I'm going to ask you a semi-deep question.
All right.
In the time that you've started your business and founded your practice, can you think of a time where you genuinely thought, I really want to give up?
Oh, like every 4 days.
Oh, every 4 days. Okay, so it happened quite a lot. Is there one that sticks out? There's any particular time when you're like, oh man, this hasn't worked, a supply hasn't come in, or any particular time that sticks out?
I've got a really big one actually. So it was probably about 3 years in, maybe slightly longer. 3 years in or so. And we'd really kind of, the model was starting to stick. We're making some really good progress. And it was around that kind of Dragon's Den time when everyone got really into Dragon's Den. And you kind of, I used to watch that show when I don't really watch TV anymore actually, but I used to watch that and somehow got myself convinced that I wasn't any good at sales, despite all of the evidence to the contrary, that I should have somebody like who's a specialist who's really good at sales, because that's not my core talent. Like my core talent is whatever else. So went to a couple of networking events with a kind of like, I think that thought in my head, met this guy who, we'd always had real problems right at the start of the business explaining what we did. That subscription model was not well known in accountancy. We always get that question like, oh, it's such a great idea, why isn't everyone else doing it? And there's only so many times you can say, well, because everyone else is daft. This makes absolute sense. So we met this guy and he got it straight away. He was like, I get it, I understand it. He's like, this can be so much bigger than you think it's going to be. We did like a kind of a session with him on a day, lots of flip charts up, all that kind of like, it would have been a really good film montage, flip charts and everyone like high-fiving and getting super excited and becoming spreadsheet millionaires. We did that. And he's like, right, here's what we're going to do. You need a much bigger office. We applied for a bit of funding. So it's like part loan, part government grant at the time, which was match funded. You need a much bigger space. I've got all of these contacts. And this was a legit business guy. Like he had a big business in South Wales. He had all these contacts, really excited. All the rest of it, he's like, you're not taking any money up front from you, but maybe I can become a B shareholder and get my money when I exit. And I'm like in my early 20s at this point. I'm like, this is great. This is it. This is what we wanted. Someone else sees the vision. Brilliant. Went through those process, did everything we were supposed to do, did the due diligence, did the legals, did everything else. We walked into our new 6,000 meter square office on the New World day one. And this guy just ghosted us, just disappeared.
No.
Yeah, just disappeared. And I remember sat in our boardroom. We didn't need a boardroom. We at that point didn't have enough clients to pay the rent in this new ridiculous building we had. So
6,000 square meters, that's big, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
Massive.
Millennium, Millennium Stadium, huge.
Like I had like 4 staff and just a lot of, sass. That was it. And so I remember sat on the floor in our boardroom. We did not need a boardroom. And thinking, oh my God, like this is it. Like we've like properly screwed this up. And then it was like, okay, well, we have 2 choices in this scenario. It's either we do this or we don't. Yeah. And I didn't like the idea of not doing it. So it's very humbling, back to networking, back to picking up the phone, back to cold calling, back to all that stuff, just back on the proper shoe leather, just like rise and grind, get it done. And yeah, dug ourselves out of that. Nothing like a burning platform to get you moving. Yeah. And a rapidly decreasing bank balance. And then about 2 years later, he got back in contact with me.
I got the date wrong. I thought it was
2 years later.
Yeah. First of all, tried to sue me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, saying that I owed him a load of money for consultancy, and I was like, yeah, no, jog on. And then about 6 months after that, sent me a message apologizing, saying that he was going through a rough time and whatever the rest of it. But I was like, do you know what? Just because you're going through a rough time doesn't give you an excuse to treat other people like crap, or to do that, and to just not show up. You can not show up in your own life, but not to other people you've made commitments to. That was one of the moments where I remember distinctly. I can still feel the feel of when I think about it, of the carpet that was in that boardroom. That it was such a kind of traumatic experience that some of that sensory stuff is still kind of like stuck to me. And when I think about it, it still gives me goosebumps. And I can still feel that kind of grainy carpet under my fingertips.
So if I've understood correctly, because I was going to ask how you got yourself out of it, my understanding is literally you just went hard graft. You went, shit, excuse my language, I need to do this, and went out, got clients, did the work, and just...
Picked the phone. Picked the phone, ate humble pie, went to networking events, went to every networking event you, followed the meetings, took the business cards, hunted people down. Any interest we'd ever had over the last 9 months, reignited it, just properly went out at it.
You know, like how you look back on things and you're like, oh, do you know, actually that was a pivotal moment. I'm kind of glad that thing happened, and presumably, like, not wanting to, get too into the legals of it and, shareholdings and investments and stuff like that. But like, you came out of it with the outcome with a lot of graft, but without presumably having to give up any of your business for that investor and all that sort of stuff happened. So that is, yeah, like you said, burning platform. Wow, that is it's quite something.
Thank you for being real, Lucy. I've asked that question to other business owners and entrepreneurs, and some of them have bald-faced lied to me and gone, no, it's always been smooth sailing. No, it hasn't. No, it effing hasn't. You lied.
Oh, no, it's mainly rubbish. Like, it's mainly really, really hard. But I think if you do this, there's a kind of slightly masochistic side of you that loves the drama. And that's it.
Is it Gary Vee that sort of famously says, like, being an entrepreneur is like, basically like one win for every 30 times you get punched in the face? It's like you have to be really kind of up for fighting. You
just have to keep standing up. And a lot of it, 80% of it, is just keep showing up. just consistency and just keep standing up. That's it.
And when you made that decision of like we've basically got two choices, there's like there's on or there's there's not, like, is that the point you realized, oh, I'm now unemployable anyway because I've run my own business for like however many years and the only way is through, right? There is no other choice.
I think that is the only way out is through. I don't think I regarded myself as necessarily unemployable, but I think it was kind of, I was still young enough and still with a good degree of naivety, and I think a healthy dose of naivety is probably no bad thing. A good degree of naivety that I just kind of, it kind of felt like it was a choice, but also not a choice. Doing nothing is also a choice. You know, and I wasn't prepared to do any of those things. I would rather have tried. You know, I would rather be that person that had put everything on the line and really tried, so that even if something, and things go wrong all the time, even if something has gone properly wrong, I can go, do you know what? I gave that my all. And I honestly, with all of the skills and resources I had at that point in my life and all the information I had at that point in my life, I did my best with what I had. And I just think that's all anyone can do. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And that's it.
Were your friends and family supportive of you at that time? Did you have like a good safety net?
No.
No?
Right. No safety nets. No safety net, no parental financial support because they didn't have any money. And I suppose, like, in that kind of early stage of business, you shed quite a lot of kind of your older friends, because I didn't go to university, so they had a lot of like university life. They had their new university friends. I kind of gone straight into work, and then gone into self-employment. So your friendship circle is quite small. You tend to end up kind of knocking about with other business owners because you don't have to keep explaining yourself to them, and you don't have to do the constant kind of like, oh, how's work? And you can't be bothered anymore. So you just go, oh, you know, busy, and they go, oh, great, oh, well, it's nearly the weekend. And you're like, yeah.
Not for you as a business owner. No.
I just can't. You reach a point where you can't be bothered explaining it anymore. The bandwidth to explain it just isn't worth it. So, but honestly, I think it was so live or die that I actually don't really remember how I felt in that time anymore. I think I was just kind of working and my brain was consumed with, right, how am I measuring this? How many calls do I need to make? How many this do I need? I like tick, 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 just add, like a dripping tap fills a bath. Doesn't matter how small that drip is, a dripping tap fills a bath. So let's just keep going until it's full. And that's what we did.
Can you see, I know Dale's got questions. Can you see that what you did there now in like how your team operates? Is that something that you, because I remember I used to work for this lady in tax and she was a phenomenal brain. And she was quite challenging to work for. And I remember talking to my boss about her one day, and he said the trouble with said person is that she'd done all the jobs all the way through, and she knew she could do it better. So I just wondered if it translates and forms part of what you do in Mazuma now.
I'd say definitely that. Obviously, we're a much bigger company now, so I am not directly in control of all that culture. That kind of a part of that, as much as I can guide, a part of that kind of happens on its own. Culture is people. But I hope that ethos, and certainly some of my best kind of senior leaders, are very much kind of like, we're just going to dig in, roll your sleeves up. This is one of our kind of core pillars, and the hashtags we use kind of in the business is hashtag we win together. So that is we're not styling ourselves, well, that's sales' problem, that's marketing's problem, that's operations' problem. It's like, this is a team sport, and sometimes we all just have to roll our sleeves up. And I don't mind like leading by example and getting my sleeves rolled up and letting people delegate up to me and things like that every now and again, if it gets stuff done and sets the right tone. So I think that in my best team members, that attitude is definitely there, in that, all right, it's going to be short and sharp, short-term pain, long-term gain, get it done. I think that probably does feed through, hopefully.
Very interesting.
Time for a silly question. Lucy, do you drink coffee?
I do.
Tony, over to you.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask the coffee question then. You're welcome to if you want, mate.
What's the coffee question?
It's your question, bro. You enjoy it. You savor it.
So we ask this to pretty much all of our guests. And the question is, so like, if we can agree that sort of like your local artisan, you know, sort of single origin Ecuadorian coffee is like A1, and we can all agree on that and move past it. We've all got our favorites. Like, if you're stuck in a world where there's only chain generica coffee shops, your big ones, like, which is the one that you will go to and which is the one that you will like actively choose not to drink coffee if it's the only thing available?
I'm about to do myself out of a branding coffee deal here. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to burn some bridges here. Oh my goodness. Right, I'm going to give them a shout out because I think they're undervalued. McDonald's do a great coffee.
I totally agree with it.
We
They're
both
friends
agree.
of the show. Friends
Yep.
of the show.
Yep.
Excellent value for money. Hard to beat, really.
It's okay coffee for the price, right? Like, it's good.
McDonald's latte, very decent. Even their iced coffee is also very decent. Bottom of the barrel, Costa.
Don't do decaf though. Yeah, mate, I'm with you.
Yeah, Costa's bottom of the barrel. I'm going to argue with your coffee thing. What's the point of decaf coffee?
I sometimes drink decaf because I genuinely like the flavour, but don't want to stay up at night time. I genuinely like the flavour of the coffee or the brew or the beans that I purchased. But you're right. Usually it's kind of pointless, but for that very reason.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know the taste so much that I would go for decaf.
I'm the same. So I generally tend to drink coffee after like midday. But if I want coffee sort of in the afternoon because I just want to have a break and drink a coffee, then I'll drink a decaf sometimes. We also had a guest on, Owen, earlier a couple of weeks ago, who has can't drink caffeine for health reasons. So he's got that. I think there are some reasons.
We'll jump to the comments though, real quick.
Hi, Sam Woods, because I think Sam Wood might be a first-time commenter.
Yeah,
certainly since
Sam Wood. But do you drink posh coffee only, or will you take a cup of instant?
I'm afraid I'm a bit of a snob. I will not take a cup of instant. I have a bean to cup machine downstairs as well.
How about you, Tony? Are you a snob?
Yeah. I will drink instant. Yeah. I will, like, if it's needed, but I'd rather not if possible.
I am such a snob that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yes, I used to think it was fine. It's like a different thing, though, isn't it? It's not like, it's almost like a separate. Yeah, if needs be, but I'd prefer not to.
I'm a snob, but I won't. Like, if you invite me to your house, Lucy, right, and I've never been before, and I didn't know your coffee situation, and you offer me a hot drink, I will say no for fear that you might give me granules. Until I know what your coffee situation is, I will not accept a coffee.
I would actually ask. I would say, if I fancy coffee, I'll go, is it instant, or do you have at the minimum have a cafetiere? And if they say it's instant, I'm like, oh, all right, I'll have a tea. Don't worry.
It's not the same thing. And Sam would follow up. I'm from an East Durham mining village. Instant is fine for me. Fair play, Sam. Fair play.
Do you, Sam? Who are we to judge?
We're just snobs drinking our beans, not our freeze-dried coffee.
Beans to cup downstairs, yeah.
If anyone wants to wade into the coffee chat on the comments, they're welcome to.
So I'm reading these out loud for people who aren't maybe watching. So, oh dear, nothing wrong with a Nescafe Gold Blend. You know what, Sam? I like your smiley face, but we're going to have to respectfully disagree. Sorry.
Hold on, I know what's going on here.
I
know what's going on here. Sam is angling for a brand deal with Nescafe.
If anyone would like to send me another fancy coffee machine, they're very welcome.
You went, not bag of coffee machine. Yeah.
Right, look, big leagues. You can go down, but you can't go up, Tony.
I think you overestimate the viewership of this show. I know you're used to doing like better shows than this, like ITV, Sky, BBC. It's usually me, Tony, my mum, a cat, and a few other sprinkling of people.
Is this not winning a BAFTA?
Mate, you're doing us a favour by being on the show for sure, like 100%. Your prestige making the show higher, not us helping your viewership at all in any way, shape, or form.
We're very grateful.
Yeah, we're really grateful. I'm very honest about it. Like, yeah, no one watches this show. Honestly, it started mostly for my own amusement. That's pretty much why I did it.
Just an outlet.
Best things do.
Yeah. Would you like a serious question or another jokey question, Lucy?
Let's go serious. I like the alternation. It's good. It's giving me the yin and yang. Let's go serious.
Serious question. So opposite of the previous question, I asked you like what was like a lowest moment where you want to quit. Yeah. What was the biggest like I freaking made it? I'm super excited. Highlight of the building your business that comes to mind.
Right, this is going to sound really conceited, but I genuinely don't get those.
As in, you don't get moments where you're excited about what you've achieved.
No.
Because there's always more to do, or imposter syndrome, or like what is it?
I think it's so. I'm constantly always looking forward, So you constantly, the thing that you want, you've already talked about, spoken about, visualized, planned, gone through every scenario, kind of all that stuff. So it's always looking forward. So by the time you actually get to the thing, I'm thinking a year ahead of it anyway, and it seems like a massive kind of anticlimax. And the best way I can describe that, I suppose, was when we had, when we took on a round of investment, the first big round of investment we took on. It's obviously it's a slog getting through that, like due diligence, and you're learning really quickly, and it's you're kind of operating in a whole new kind of sports field. It felt like the day that closed should have been like a yes, here we go, but it just wasn't. It was literally okay, well now I better get started on actually executing this plan.
Then follow-up question: how do you savor the victories if you're always on the next thing? Like there must be a way that you actually enjoy what you've achieved in some way.
I'm really bad at this, and I don't. Which is not necessarily very healthy. I think it's probably I'm a very type A person. I've always been very high achieving. Shocking, I know. I'm shocked.
That's not surprising in the slightest.
I very rarely, if ever, stop and go, oh, I'm quite proud of that. Like it doesn't happen. Praise makes me deeply uncomfortable. I would much rather someone's mean to me, honestly. So we can unpack that with my therapist.
No, let's do it now. Let's start the bullying now. I'm joking. I am enjoying you saying all this, by the way, with an accounting excellence award like behind your head in shots.
That's a shelf of awards. That is a shelf of awards. And I'm sitting there.
Let's. What's going on in Lucy's room? We've got some awards. What awards we got?
So that award.
A book.
That award is for best business book, which is that book, which it won.
Nice.
Then I've got the contribution to entrepreneurship award from Barclays. And then I've got my outstanding contribution award for Accounting Web, which are those who are not in the accounting communities, but like a lifetime achievement award. So I've got those in the background. But I don't, it's sort of, and it isn't really imposter syndrome. It's a kind of, it's very hard to describe because I have what I think sometimes is like the opposite of imposter syndrome. I'm very confident in my abilities, and I genuinely believe there isn't a room I shouldn't be in. I should be in more rooms. Like, why aren't I in more rooms? And I'm quite happy to go and put myself in those uncomfortable situations and feel like I'm earning my keep there and contributing. Doesn't mean I'm not uncomfortable, but I don't feel like an imposter there. But I think that kind of taking stock and knowing how far you've come and kind of looking back down the mountain stuff, I'm really bad at it. I don't take my own advice on it at all. I find it deeply uncomfortable to do. And I would much rather focus on just keep moving forward. And it could possibly be, I went to a very academically high achieving school. So I was, even though I was kind of in the top of the class there's always somebody better than you. And so I never felt like I was ever like the best at anything. So that's always been, so I've always had something to reach for. And I think because of that, because I'm in my head never there, I don't feel like celebrating or taking stock. But that doesn't mean that's very healthy. Like I do understand it's not a healthy thing. I do understand.
I'm now mildly concerned for your well-being. I say mildly concerned. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, but just mildly concerned.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm definitely mad. Yeah.
I was going to. Do you think it? Like, my question was going to be: is it something that you wish you were able to do more, like be able to take stock?
Yeah, take stock
and just sit for a minute and have a coffee and be like, "Well done, Lucy."
Yeah, I wish I could and be present. I find being present in anything very, very difficult because my brain's constantly got 18 things happening and like a monkey playing the cymbal somewhere. Like it's always like whirring off. Yeah.
Is that one of those like ADHD type dealies? Are you ADHD or?
Well, I've never been diagnosed with anything like that. However, I'd say it's probably fair to say I've definitely got traits of those things, ability to hyper focus, individual food obsessions, and then never want to do it again in my life. Or some of those kind of things you joke about, but there's certainly other characteristics I have. But yeah, I think it's partly that, and I think it's also partly a kind of this is going deep. It's kind of deep discomfort with kind of self-validation and ultimately kind of feeling worthy of position. And I think it's not quite imposter syndrome, but feeling like a lack of worthiness, I think is definitely a thing that I experience.
Thank you for being so open and honest with us. This is a safe space. We listen, but we don't judge. I definitely judge, not out loud.
There's a whole 5 viewers, so you know.
Tony, I think you're itching to ask a question, so I'm going to be quiet and let you do your thing.
I just think it's really interesting. So I know that like Lucy stands proud for the females in our industry, right? And I know that there are a lot of people that look up to you for your achievements and for you as a person and the stuff that you've done within our space, right? Because it is it's trailblazing in a lot of cases, and we'll get on to what you'd like to see change in the profession in a bit. But I just think it's like advice to. I'm sure that there are people watching, and maybe in the future watching this as well, that listen to what you just said and are like, oh, actually, do you know what? That's quite freeing because I sort of feel the same. And I'm like kind of tracking along, trying to do my stuff. And actually, it's, you know, you look up to people who've achieved tons of stuff and think, oh, they must have it all together and they must really kind of like be on top of the stuff mentally. And it would probably be quite freeing for people to think that, you know, Lucy Cohen finds it challenging, right?
Yeah.
But what advice would you give to people for like, you know, that moment when you're sort of thinking, oh, this is something I've got to push at, or this is something that sort of feels like new and I'm doubting myself about it and I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to push through it. Like what advice would you give to somebody who like feeling the fear and doing it anyway? Is that what I'm trying to say? I don't know. What I'm getting at.
It literally is that. So if it's any help at all to anyone, there isn't a single thing I do where I don't think to myself, oh, should I be doing this? Like, should I be doing this talk at Accountex? Should I be writing this on social media? Like,
even
like,
now.
Yeah.
Despite all the accolades, despite all the praise.
Because underneath it, you're still that child. You know, all of us are sums of our parts, and we've still got these kind of very vulnerable kind of parts to us. Underneath that, despite, and it's not me saying I don't think I've achieved stuff. That's not it at all. I know I have, but it's a difference between head and heart. So I know I can look at it, I have evidence for it, it's factual, and I can speak about that stuff very factually. I know that I've been really successful. I can say that, and I don't find that difficult to say. I find it difficult to accept, like that kind of inner acceptance of it. And the same with everything. So you talking about whatever it is, Accountex or stating an opinion on something. I think that, yeah, even now I will overthink it or double think it, if you like take stock before I do it. But the important thing is I still do it. So even though I might feel uncomfortable, if I kind of do my little self-audit and I go, is this a thing I truly believe in? Am I saying it for the right reasons? If somebody came at me and said, I massively disagreed with what you said, I thought it was terrible, whatever else, would I stand there and go, I take your point of view, however, and this is how I feel, and I'm happy to say it, and I will sleep at night knowing that I believe that. As long as I can answer yes to that, even if it's scary, I still do it, and then you send it, and then don't look at it for a bit, so you can't kind of delete straight away. You just have to go and do it, and you can do things scared. Like you can do a talk scared, you can do an interview scared. You just learn how to do things scared. That's it.
That's epic. I'm going to jump to the comments real quick. They're slightly delayed. So Indy saying, don't put yourselves down. Great chat. Learned a lot about you all so far.
Thanks, Indy.
Digital Disruptors, legend. I'm going to jump to Marcus later because he's actually got a question. We've got Randy House in the house. He's in the States, by the way. So Randy, thank you for tuning in. He's like 6 hours behind us. So
early.
Hi, Randy.
Yeah, good morning, Randy. He's a living legend. Billy McLaughlin. I'm listening, guys. Actually love the insight into Lucy's mind just then. You can always go down, but it's harder to negotiate up. Sam Green. Meanwhile, I've got my five-a-side league winners trophy on my desk.
Sorry, you're accounting excellence. So I'm keeping the award spin out done, Lucy.
And we're going to jump to Marcus's question because I think he's asked a nice, good, serious question, and then we're going to do a daft one after that. But let's go. Right. Marcus Batson. Does Lucy have any tips for folk, accounting firms or otherwise, with large client bases on how they can continue to deliver great client experience at scale? Smiley face.
Oh, that's a great question.
It's a very good question.
First off, define what client experience is for you and your client base. What I define as good customer service will be very different to somebody else's. So you have to define that, first of all. If you're measuring yourself, if your yardstick is what other people do, you're never going to get there because you're trying to hit a moving target. So get that definition. And then it's about working backwards. So I always work it backwards from what does this person want to have said at the end of this? And what things do I have to have done to make that probably 80% of the time, and then just go and do those things. Systemize what you can, touch points, check-ins, things like that, giving people options. People won't take up all the options for checkpoints, and certainly in our model at scale, we rely upon the fact that not everybody uses everything at full capacity all the time. Human nature means that's unlikely to happen, and that's not a crazy business model. That's how banks work. Banks very much bank on the fact that not everybody's going to go and withdraw their money all in one go, which is when you get things like credit crunches or bearings or things like that. You get a run on the bank. Banks work on the assumption that not everyone's going to withdraw everything all at once, and they go and invest their money elsewhere and make a nice bit of cash for themselves. That's the principle that I think certainly if you're working at scale, you have to operate on, that 100% of people are not going to use 100% of things 100% of the time. Figure out what that is on the data, and then figure out what you need to do. And all you need to do is to understand what they care about. So it's really easy when you're going at scale as well, because you're going to have lots of systems and processes and KPIs and OKRs and all that stuff. At scale, you're going to have loads of those. And it's really easy to start kind of congratulating yourself for hitting a bunch of internal targets and things that your customer doesn't care about. So we have internal SLAs and we have external SLAs, and our customers care about the things that impact them. Our customers don't care what billing system you use. So us going, oh yeah, we put a new billing system in, doesn't affect customers at all. Oh, we've upgraded our memory systems in the background, don't care. Does it work? So it's making sure you focus on communicating what it is you've done. People have short memories, and no news isn't always good news. You need to remind people what you've done quietly in the background to let them know what you kind of checked in on. And then it's systemizing and delivering. Honestly, it's your minimum viable dosage is what we're looking at here. You don't, if all it takes for somebody to be delighted with your service is X, Y, and Z, you don't need to do A, B, C, and as well. It's too much effort. You don't need to do it. If what delights them is X, Y, Z, just do X, Y, Z. And if that changes, you change. That's it.
We're just going to let that sit for a minute. We're not going to ask any questions. We're just going to let that sit. The people mull on that.
While they do that, like, I'm going to suggest that when people get excited about doing something that isn't relevant, that you should sarcastically present them with your Counting Excellence Lifetime Achievement Award virtually. Do you want this? Give them a little slow hand clap.
Hey, look,
maybe not. I don't know. That might be good for cultural relations. Probably not. Yeah.
I love a side quest, right? I love getting wrapped up in my ideas. Keep saying to the team, I said it in our SLT meeting last month. The problem in this company, the problem here is not ideas. I have 50 ideas before lunchtime. Most of them are rubbish. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean you should go and do it. The difficulty is always execution. And so it's taking your ideas, filtering them, and then figuring out how you're going to execute on it. And some of the ideas that I have, you actually put it into a real world scenario and you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, but it's a big fat so what? Like, no one's going to care about this. And that's the kind of premise I work on.
It's like, I always think when I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of conversations with people who are like building technology and starting out in our accountancy world, and often they have that sort of perhaps slightly naive approach that I'm just going to sell it to accountants and they'll sell it on to their customers. And like I always say, there's like a big difference between, you can give something to somebody for free and say, can you use this? And they'll go like, this is amazing. And they were like, you're going to pay me for it? And they're like, God, no. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And we were like, but you just said it was amazing and really cool. And we're like, yeah, I'm not paying you for it though. Like, yeah, really cool. But you're like, you want me to pay £10 a license for this thing I can still do on Excel for the same. And it's just, I'm not. It's that like getting to that, like, take my money, like poncho in a monsoon type of like situation. That gap between like poncho in a monsoon and this is really good is massive, but it doesn't feel like it's massive often when you're first starting out. Not that I've built any technology businesses, but
and again, and sometimes it's really, having those ideas and getting them to market, or even just updating systems in your own business. It's a lot of failure. It's willing to accept that, and sometimes something is a really good idea, it's just not the right time for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes there are really good ideas, and in 5 years' time, it might be amazing, or something. It's a great idea right to the point of launch, and suddenly the world shifts, and it's no longer relevant, and it's just part of it. And the most important thing I think is to learn to not fall foul of sunk cost fallacy. just because you spent a lot of time doing something doesn't mean you should spend. So one of my favorite sayings is, just because you spent a lot of time making a mistake doesn't mean you should keep making a mistake.
I'm going to clip that and edit that later, along with learn how to do things scared. They're going to be clips. They're going to be, that's awesome. It's really good stuff.
Just do it scared.
Lucy.
Yes.
If you were a biscuit, what kind of biscuit would you be that accurately portrays your personality and why, but don't just pick your favorite biscuit?
So because I can't eat gluten, my biscuit consumption is relatively limited to sad gluten-free biscuits, which anyone else, shout out all the celiacs out there, says miserable life. I can't believe people give up gluten when they don't need to. Like, you lot are idiots. What are you doing? Eat the delicious bread. What's wrong with you? Sometimes when I'm in France, I wonder if I just ate a whole baguette, would it be worth it? And the answer is undoubtedly not. But biscuits. Does a Tunnocks tea cake count as a biscuit?
I'll allow it.
I'm going to go Tunnocks tea cake because it's got everything. It's got chocolate. For me, another life rule of mine, if it hasn't got chocolate in it, it's not a pudding. Not a dessert if it hasn't got chocolate in it. So not having that.
I'm going to have to argue with that one. I'm going to have to argue with that one. Hold on. If I have apple pie and custard
cake.
Nah, not a proper pudding. Got to have chocolate in it.
Rice pudding. Rice pudding.
What's the word pudding beyond dessert?
Yeah.
No. Rice pudding is right. No, absolutely not. It's not an appropriate end to a 3-course meal to have something that does not contain chocolate.
Victoria sponge cake with a ton of icing.
No, that's a snack. No, that's afternoon tea. What? That's afternoon tea. 100. I'm going to fight you on this, Dale.
Yeah, we can disagree respectfully.
Yeah, Tunnocks tea cake because it's got a bit of everything. It's got a little bit of crunch, which is nice. It's got chocolate, essential. It's got the squishy marshmallow bits. You can also have fun. You can eat it all in one go, or you can deconstruct it.
Kirsty, if you're listening, how many Tunnocks tea cakes did we give away on day one of Accountex? I think it was like, I don't know. I saw a post it on LinkedIn. It was like 2,200. But I think that was truth, not made up, but 2,200.
And 1,000 of those were all given to Lucy, I assume.
We had people coming up to the stand. There was a lady posted about it on LinkedIn, and she had to, as a stop short of citizen's arrest, but like as a concerned citizen, had to tell somebody to stop picking up the wooden bowls and pouring the tea cakes into their bag, literally. And even better, Adfin, I think it was Tom Pope who said this. They had somebody come up to their stand, put a suitcase on the floor, open the suitcase and start loading it with the little tea boxes that they were giving away. And he had to go up to them and go, "You need to stop." Like, that is
unhinged.
That is unhinged. Yeah.
That's not cool.
I like to call them the swag pie, but yeah, that is quite incredible. You can see them. They come onto the stand and they'll be like, it's like a little gauntlet, and they've got to work out, like, as the people are moving around the stand, like, how can I get through, swipe socks and get out the other side without having to make eye contact with anybody, get my swag, and just, it's incredible.
Now, look, I won't lie, I did steal at least 6 lint balls from Silverfin whilst I was there, but I love a lint ball.
Steal is such a dirty word. You commandeered.
Commandeered, yeah.
You summoned Kirsty.
I rehomed.
Kirsty St. John, well, I am the wrong Kirsty. I ate one of them. Yes. You're the right Kirsty. Don't worry, Kirsty. You're cool. Other Kirsty never comments, so you're the best Kirsty.
Yeah. Number 1 Kirsty on this podcast.
Right. Sam Green again. You have to eat a Tunnocks tea cake all in one. Isn't that the UK law?
I'd just like to have the option, Sam. Like, I think it's just good to have the option of deconstructing it, should you so wish. It's easily done. Wagon wheels used to be easy to deconstruct, but they're smaller and crapper than they used to be.
That's kind of like a squashed Tunnocks tea cake.
It's sort of like anything with a bit of mallow in it. I love a bit of mallow and crunch.
Those like hot chocolates where they get the marshmallow around the top of the glass and then like hot chocolate should have everything in it. It should have like marshmallow, chocolate powder, everything proper chocolate. Have you had those proper like really really chocolatey ones in Italy, which is basically just like liquid chocolate? Oh. There's another one doing the rounds at the moment, the Affogato one, where this is a famous place in Italy. It's like €6. They give it in a cup, and it's like ice cream in the bottom, and then they kind of like they sort of get this paddle thing and then scrape it so that like you've got 4 semicircles around the top of the glass, and there's like a square in the middle, and then they pour the espresso into it.
Oh,
and
lovely!
Then you have to kind of like eat the ice cream with the espresso. It looks really cool.
Yeah,
€6. Apparently, it's good.
Love that.
you know what we've also overlooked that people might not know about you, Lucy? Correct me if I'm wrong, you powerlift, right?
Yeah, so I was a Commonwealth silver medalist powerlifter.
Yeah. I'm going to have to ask you the cliche gym bro question. Personal best on the top 5: bench, row, overhead, deadlift, and squat.
Well, I only do well as a powerlifter. You only do 3 events.
Oh, 3.
I was going to say there's only 3.
So,
There's only 3. My bad.
I'm going to give you my best gym lift because platform lifts are different, and I've not had to make weight for it. So I say this with the caveat: I'm old and weak now, and the powerlifters all over the UK are way better than I used to be because there were way more women doing it at an earlier age now, which is fantastic than there was when I was doing it. But my best ever bench, I think, was 112 or 115 kilos.
Solid.
Yeah, which was that. Squat was up near the 200s, which like over. And my deadlift was my worst event, so like 170, 175 was my best deadlift or something.
Let's not say only, because for people who don't know you, you are like what, 5'2"? Like
5 foot, well, just under 5'4" and about 63 kilos. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a very impressive lift. Like,
you don't commit to a number.
Huh?
Just say, yeah.
Why can't I commit to a number, Tony?
Well, you can, mate. You can.
I've been going around telling people, not that your height comes up very often, but for years I've been thinking I'm nearly 5'5", and I recently got measured, and I am not devastated. But there we go.
That is still
one thing about you can't control is your height, so there's no point of really overthinking it.
You say that. I've been seeing some videos recently. Have you seen this? I don't know what
the leg things.
Yeah. I'm just going to caveat before we talk about this that this is. I don't suggest that you do this. I'm not medically trained. I'm just repeating what I've seen. So basically, these folks that want to get taller and quite significantly taller, they get these like frames installed into their legs, and then the frames get sort of tightened, and essentially it kind of like just separates the bone like a little micro amount, and then the bone reforms, and then they do it again, and it reforms again.
Way.
Yeah. Like, and we're talking 6 or 7 inches. Like,
I saw that on South Park like 7-8 years ago, and I thought it was a joke.
No, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
It was a joke at the time, but it's a real thing. Yeah,
that's absurd.
It's a real thing. Yeah. No, I don't care enough to do that.
And I saw one of the guys getting interviewed, and I think it was by the Derek, More Plates, More Dates guy. And he's gone from 6 foot, so he was already quite tall anyway, to 6'6", and he was enormous anyway. This guy, like, huge, great big. I think he was Georgian, like just massive, great big, like wrestling powerlifter looking kind of guy, huge. And he was just, I just need to be 6 inches taller, so he's done this thing. But,
see, I find it a hassle healing a new piercing. For me, like the idea of healing whole leg bones just blows my mind. If I get a new like piercing, if I think about getting a bit of cartilage in my ear piercing, I'm like, but it's going to take like 18 months to heal. I don't think I could be bothered.
It's a stretch to want to kind of go through that process. I think it's
a stretch. Nice pun, well done.
Yeah,
very good, very good.
I always get a bit twitchy when we get to this point of the day because we have only got about 12 minutes left, and we like to sort of not take up too much of people's times. And that obviously means we've got a limited amount of stuff that we could talk about, and there's a million different threads of things that we could pull at. I'm going to ask you the question about having watched a good chunk of your talk with Steve at Accountex last week about like the changes that you would like to see in the profession when it comes to institutes and the lack of female founders that we've got, and the difficulties that the way that the qualifications are set up present for females trying to make waves in our space. Do you want to talk about that for a minute? Because I know it's something that's important to you and important to everybody. I think that's an important thing for us to cover off because we've only got 12 minutes left.
So at the top of the hour, I said that the bar for our accolade is kind of largest female founded firm is depressingly low. It genuinely is. And there are so many reasons for that. The first is that, accounting as a woman, women have only been allowed to be accountants for the last 100 years formally. So, we're still kind of catching up in that respect. Because of that, historically, the system by which you study, qualify, train is not set up for women. In the UK, we know that women take on 70% of the childcare and elder care responsibilities, unpaid domestic work, even in a heterosexual partnership where both partners are working full time. And so women have 2 jobs that they have to do. Look at the way that, like specifically the chartered bodies present their training and exam schedules, the amount of time that takes, the cost involved in it. No wonder we see rates of women dropping out of qualification, because these things sometimes take 6-7 years to do. You're doing that at a time of life, you're post-university, you're into your career, you might decide that you want to have children, you've taken time out of the workforce, and then you've taken on a second job of raising a child. Who's got time to attend 12-hour revision days and study for exams and sit them in inconvenient locations or through inappropriate methods? Like, it's just inaccessible. Not only that, but if you are not employed by somebody else, which part-time work is taken up by more women than it is men, if you're not having someone else pay for your exams, they're incredibly expensive, like incredibly expensive exams to do. So already we've got all of this stuff. Then when you get into self-employment, there are rules in some of the charter bodies that say that if you are a student of those chartered bodies, you cannot be self-employed or offer out accounting services self-employed, even if you're got a license and insured by somebody else. Given that I think it's something like 73%, don't quote me on that, but it's roughly that ballpark, of self-employed bookkeepers are female, that's an instant problem in terms of getting access to further qualification. That's where bodies like AAT, which, full disclosure, I'm current vice president of, so I have to state a bias here, but it's why they do
president-elect, right?
President-elect, yeah. But it's why they do so well with women, because they actually give them access to qualification, training, and support in a way that suits them. I talked earlier as well about us needing to go to our client base in a way that suits them. The world is not set up for work a 9 to 5, take your study leave, do your exams, spend your evenings, weekends studying in your late 20s when you are a woman. It's completely unfeasible. And it's depressing to me that there's so much pushback in the industry for making that change that's going to benefit women, especially given that in the last year, the gendered pay gap in accounting has regressed 10 years. In the last year, in 2024, it regressed to 2014 levels. Good progress, great progress through COVID, because guess what? All the pushback I always get, which is, oh, it should just be the best person for the job, all that stuff. COVID forced meritocracy. COVID meant that you weren't getting your job because you went to a golf day, or you weren't getting your job because you happened to be able to stay for drinks after work. Even though that's not the reason that you got the job, having that additional contact point definitely helped. Suddenly, when everyone was stuck at home in their onesies doing work, suddenly we had a meritocracy, and suddenly people who were producing the better work got the jobs, and those people were women. But now we're going back to a Trump world with everyone has to go back to the office, a Musk world, which is if you don't want to come to the office full time, you're going to get sacked. That only suits one demographic of people typically. And if we're doing that in accounting, where we already have a gender pay gap that is worse than the UK average and is one of the worst professions, I think law's up there as well. If we already have a gender pay gap that's worse than a lot of other professions, we already have a situation where we're going backwards. And 2 of the biggest accounting companies in the UK have just cancelled their DEI policies in the States. It just sends me the giant message from a large percentage of the industry. That message I heard when I first started, which was, Lucy, you do not belong here. I'm still hearing it. Lucy, you do not belong here. Your presence here is an inconvenience to the status quo. We don't want you here. Will you please shut up? And that's it.
Do you think it's like an active thing, or do you think it's just like a negligent thing of this is just how we've always done it and this is how we're going to continue to do it because that's just how our systems work? Or is it something where it's actively, maybe that's a too thorny of a question, I don't know. But...
No, it maybe not be active, but it's ignorant. And whether it's through incompetence or malice, the result's the same thing. It doesn't matter why it's there. It's the fact that it's there. And what always frustrates me about this is there's so much research that shows that diverse workforces produce better results, both economically, in innovation, and in efficiency. There's research all over the place that shows that. But it makes a certain genre of people very uncomfortable, all of us have inherent bias. We are all likely to hire people who look and feel just like us. And if you have a homogenous set of people at board, they will hire people below them who look just like them, who will hire people below them who look just like them. And before you know it, we've undone 10 years, and it's a generation to get it back to where it currently is. So it might not be, like in the case of, say, Trump and Musk, I'm literally about to get myself banned from the States by saying this. In the case of Trump and Musk, it's deliberate.
We are on their watch list.
Yeah, it's absolutely deliberate. They don't want that sort. They don't want diversity in the workplace. They think it's woke nonsense. They don't want it. But that is going to seep into Western life in the UK, and we're going to, we're 5, 6, 7 steps from professional Gilead.
Can I just ask, and then Dale, you can ask. Sorry. So, like you said in your talk, that this is, as much as we'd love it to be something that changed like overnight, it will take time, right? It will be a generational shift, and it will need to happen from the bottom up as well as it will from the top down, right? But like, if there was a couple of like tactical things that could happen now that you could see, like from the outside, look fairly straightforward, what would you like to see taken immediately?
Totally blind recruiting. Blind recruiting is the way forward. You look at the results you had for, say, a New York Philharmonic Orchestra, who swore blind that they didn't have any gender bias. Men just happened to be better musicians. As soon as they started putting blind auditions in, it went from 100% male orchestra to now, so a couple of decades later, that was in the 80s, it's 50-50 male-female because of blind auditions. So they work. And you also, if you do end up just with a very prevalent demographic of people in that, you know that you've done the work, you know that at least that is a true and fair result. So that's that. I also really want people to review all their policies. Yes, on paper, this specific policy you have applies to everybody equally, so therefore it must be fair. That's not what equity is. Equity is making sure that everyone has access to the same things. It's not making the rules for everyone to access them the same. That's why we have wheelchair user ramps. Otherwise, well, everyone can use the steps. It's not my fault you can't use them, but we made steps for everybody. We need to apply that into our recruitment policies and membership policies for organizations to make, you can't just go, yeah, but this rule applies to everybody. If it disproportionately disadvantages one group more than another, then it isn't fair.
It's that that meme with the people standing behind a fence. Yeah. Sorry, Dale, I know you're itching. And they're like, is it? I'm going to get this the wrong way, but equality is like they all get the same step, but one's taller so can see over, and the other two can't. And then equity is where they get the right step to put them all at the same place. Yeah. Right? Is that right?
Exactly. It's exactly that image. Yeah, it's exactly that.
Dale, sorry, mate. I know I've done in front of you about 6 times.
I was going to add in my perspective on the whole DEI battle. I agree with you, Lucy. I think one of the biggest problems is not necessarily in the profession, but it's sometimes earlier, and I don't use this phrase often, but kind of the systemic things, right? Yeah. So the reason why you might not see women and maybe people of color, for example, in the accounting space is what are young people taught at school about those professions? I think that's the biggest problem. So whilst as a workforce or workplace, like for example, KR got a great hiring policy, if people haven't been encouraged to even look at that as a sector based on their gender or skin color or anything else, they're not going to go for it because I don't think they see an option in there. So I think that's one of the bigger problems. It's actually tackling it at a grassroots level, like literally before people even get there. It's like, what are people being taught at school or even in society, which I know is a bigger, wider systemic problem that's full on politics, but I think that's actually the real issue. It's not like what are we doing or not doing. I mean, that's part of it at a hiring level, but it's like before that, what are people even taught about the industry before they can get in there? That's the biggest problem.
I 100% agree with you. 100% agree. And research shows that as well. The way that we treat people based on external appearances. There's a great study where they dressed babies at random in pink and blue, and got people to interact with them. And the babies dressed in pink, regardless of their actual gender, were the ones dressed in pink were kind of coddled and smoothed, and people were very kind of soft with them. Those in blue were kind of bounced on people's laps and kind of played with and roughhoused a little bit. And all that is an internal bias around male versus female behavior, and it happens right from when we are teeny tiny. Even when you're still in utero, people are throwing parties celebrating which gender you are as if it matters.
I need to jump into the comments very quickly. 2 points. Sam Green, can Lucy come back on next week? Unfortunately, she cannot, because we've got Keith Lesser on next week. Vegan accountant, vegan before it was cool. We're going to talk to him about that kind of fun stuff. And second point, since it's been asked, Lucy, would you come back? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah? Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
I'm going to load a question now for when you do come back on, and we're going to ask you the question. Since the last time you've been on the show, how have you learned to enjoy your successes a bit more?
Can I
Because I really believe in the power of future conversations, right? It's how I get myself to do most things that I do in life, because I know I'm going to have to talk to somebody about it in the future.
Let's hope that my answer to this is not, I've done absolutely nothing, Tony. I'm still something I struggle with. I do go to therapy every week, though, and it's something that does come up in therapy. So I am working on it. I'm aware of it, and I'm working on it.
We can dig into that next time.
Awesome. Lucy, thank you for joining us. Tony, thanks for being an awesome co-host. People viewing this and commenting. People who viewed this and didn't comment, thank you for watching anyway. It's been a blast. We'll do this again sometime. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.